Coming up on this episode of the Model 3 Owners Club Show,
Trevor tells us all about his VIP event visit.
we have some more Model 3 updates and news for you,
Yeah, and we'll talk about some other Tesla news.
some more EV news in general.
And get to mailbag.
We'll be right back.
Well, we're back. So my name is Kenneth Bokor.
And I'm Trevor Page. Thanks for joining us again on another episode.
For sure. Thank you.
We're going to do things a little differently this time. We're going to try something a little more frequent. Hopefully our jobs schedules kind of work out and stuff. So we're trying to listen to some feedback and try to do a little shorter show. But anyways,
Yep.
Let's dive right in. Ken, what do we have this week?
We got all kinds of stuff this week. First, we want to get your feelings about the VIP event that you went to last week. I know you did a short video on that, which is already up on YouTube, but for a lot of folks that haven't watched that, what can you tell us under NDA?
Well, before I begin, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor, the referral winner, because without him, I was not able to attend this event. So, Justin Wise, thank you very much for making me the +1 on this. The other thing, too, is I want to thank two other people from our forum, John and Dennis, who were both very kind to pick me up from the airport, take me to and fro. Dennis, after the fact, took me to the Computer Museum, which was a lot of fun, too. I definitely have to go back and visit that. So
That is a cool place.
yeah, so a big shout out and thanks to all of those people that really made it happen, as well as the forum donors, as well as the Patreon supporters who helped defray some of the costs, not all of the costs, but some of the costs for me to get down there. So big thanks for that. And lastly, all of the people who came out on the Thursday night when I landed in San Jose, and of course went to Fremont to our little meetup. And interestingly enough, we had a factory worker who came out and was wearing a Model 3 t-shirt from the Model 3 Owners Club. So that was pretty cool. So anyways, thanks for everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. So yes, so the Tesla event. Yeah, the whole thing was covered under NDA. So, other than visiting the factory, which was my first time seeing it, the sheer scale of the factory is quite incredible. So when you become an owner and you get an opportunity to visit the factory, please do so. It's really neat. After the factory visit, we got an opportunity to see the Model 3 Alpha. This is not a secret. Everybody knew that this was going to happen. It's the Silver Alpha that they showed last year at the reveal event. And I'll tell you, I was standing 3 feet away from the car. In pictures, I'm telling you right now, folks, pictures do not do this car justice. When you see it in person, everybody who has criticisms about little niggly details, right out of the mind, because your jaw's going to hit the floor. Just be prepared for that. This is a beautiful car.
It's a good thing to be prepared for.
Yeah, and what was really quite nice is that Tesla was, I don't know if it was on purpose or out of kindness, whatever, but they actually put a Model S right beside it. So we got a really good chance to see physical differences between the car. And the Model 3 is not 20% smaller. It's maybe about 6% smaller.
That's a big difference of what we thought.
Yeah, well, I think you have to think, Elon in a lot of ways thinks like an engineer. He's probably thinking about interior volume or something to that effect, or just general volume about the car. But it's only about 9 inches shorter than a Model S, and I would say it's about 3 inches narrower than a Model S. The height looked to be about the same. Visibility, I'm telling you right now, out of the front of this car is going to be incredible, because the dash was at least 6 to 8 inches lower than a Model S. And it looked like the first cross member across the front was pushed back a little bit. These are just general observations. I didn't take measurements. Again, we were not allowed to get close to the car or get inside it. There was no test rides or anything like that. But anyways, I came away very impressed with the car. Really looking forward to see it in person. So anybody who has criticisms and stuff, please try and reserve your judgment till you actually see it. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So all in all, very good tour. Had a good time. And then the very next day we went out and did a little bit of Model 3 watching, because they are testing them around the Fremont area and on the test track and stuff. So we got to see them in the wild. So things are definitely happening. As far as inside the factory, I can confirm they are definitely building out the factory for the Model 3 production line, but I can't say any more than that. So it's all good.
Let's get to some Model 3 updates as well. One thing I wanted to start off the show with was the annual shareholder meeting that happened a couple of days ago. It was the first time I've actually watched one of those, and it was quite fun that it was really just Elon doing his shtick, basically, his presentation stuff. There's a lot of information that have already been circulated on the internet about it, but I took some notes, and the things I wanted to just comment obviously was Model 3 related, was at the configurator. Elon did say that is going to go live next month in July for when the orders get opened. or when they start to actually close those reservations, right? Turn them into orders, I guess, and you need to configure them. So we'll obviously get a lot more detail on what options and pricing and all that good stuff when that comes online, but it's only a few weeks away, as we are now in the middle of June. He mentioned one of the questions was asked about Model 3. If you ordered it today, how long do you wait? And he said, end of 2018 at least, if not into 2019 at this point. Again, it's really going to be about how successful they are in simplifying the supply chain to increase the production outputs. And it really is those production output numbers. Any comments on that? So, I mean,
no,
they
I think
seem to be doing all the right things.
Yeah, they're definitely on track as far as that's concerned, barring any kind of issues, as they've said before. Anything can happen, so we're just keeping our fingers crossed for that. Just interesting that he did comment, of course, that the reservation numbers are definitely increasing.
Yes, I heard that
was the
too.
First time he's actually confirmed that they've actually been up. Mm-hmm. Because the last time they said it was still sitting, at whatever number they quoted, 373,000, and they didn't want to say anything, but they did say that they are definitely increasing. So by how much, who knows? But it doesn't look like too many people are backing out at this point. So
that's a good sign. There was also a question about Model 3 audio, that experience. And he said, yeah, we can improve the codec for the audio, make it better through software updates. So that's something that we're probably going to see something come out on for the Model 3 perspective.
Model S first.
Model S first, of course, and then Model 3. He mentioned there was a question about states in the U.S. that don't have Tesla stores or service centers today. How can they get their Model 3s if they don't have direct sales? And he said you can order from any state. It's basically like an online purchase. So there won't be this drone delivering your car, unless it's a really big drone, but that you can get it delivered. And I know we've had a few questions on YouTube about, can I go pick it up at the factory? I guess so. If you can do that today with the S, I would see why you couldn't. It's a little more complicated
because there's some tax situation with California and stuff.
Okay.
But anyways, you best to talk to Tesla about that.
That makes sense. So those are a few Model 3 information that came up, but certainly on the configuration and the options side, what we've heard, paint colors. So there's a few different paint colors that have surfaced, and we've got there's a red, there's a blue, there's a black, there's a white, there's a silver, and potentially a sig red. Is that correct?
Yeah, those are basically the same colors. I find it interesting. We still have not seen a midnight silver or a midnight. Is that what they call it? Whatever the gray one is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm starting to believe at this point that if we haven't seen the color, it's either not going to happen or they just figured it doesn't matter to show it at this point. So we'll have to see. As far as what's going on with that. I will mention the one thing here. There's a lot of confusion going on in the internet. There's a lot of chatter, of course, about this thing that Elon said about, when the Model 3 configurator goes online, it's basically, choose your color and choose your wheels, and that's it. Now, I think Elon was just kind of setting expectations in the sense, don't expect to have everything on the plate right off the bat. So try and keep an open mind about this. We'll see what happens. But again, I think he's trying to really set everybody's expectations to think, look, we're starting simple like we did with the Model S. We can't be doing everything all at once. We don't want another Model X fiasco on our hands. So those of you who don't like the features right off the bat or are waiting for more stuff, well, you'll just have to wait a little longer. It's not the end of the world.
And that cheat sheet for sales that you were able to put out as an exclusive,
it has been
a week
updated.
Or so ago, and it's been updated. So it basically lists full self-driving capability for the Model 3, aluminum and steel body, which is what we already knew. Some coil suspension, so it doesn't seem like there'll be air suspension starting, but it could come later. Mm-hmm. The glass roof being optional at this point for the glass roof. So I guess that it'll be a metal roof as standard. They haven't really said, though.
Yeah, again,
we haven't seen any metal roof production candidates either, right?
None at this point. Nothing that would really stand out as a metal roof at this point, unless they're painted black, of course. Yeah. Because back in the day, there was a time when you could order a Model S with a body painted roof or it was black.
The screen, there's been, with that whole spaceship interior, and then we've seen some comments, well, just a single screen. I'm not sure if I'm going to like that. Obviously there's a method to Tesla's madness, if you want to say, for adopting this single screen format. And, the Model S gave them the ability to do away with a lot of dials and buttons and things like that, to be able to electronicize those elements into a touchscreen format. Well, the Model 3 takes it another step forward, right? I mean, they're talking that there may not be any buttons or very, very, maybe a couple, buttons on the Model 3. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly, they have a central instrument cluster in that screen. They're doing away with individual air vents because based on what you saw, there's just the slots there, the slit across, present, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All the way across, and a center stack is gone. So, there have been some questions about the screen swiveling or rotating, detach. I don't think it's going to detach, but one of the things, observations that I read about is that it's safe, it's cheaper and easier to manufacture, and it also is compatible for both left-hand and right-hand drive. So there's really not a lot to change from that perspective, and I think that, again, to help accelerate the manufacturing.
Simplification in the sense of eliminating stuff that they feel is extraneous to give you a sense of serenity on the interior. I know it sounds kind of hippy-dippy to say some of that stuff, but for me, I find it refreshing. And for those of you who are still pining for a spaceship steering wheel, I don't think Elon was talking about the steering wheel. I think he's talking about the overarching kind of design goal of the interior of the car.
Agreed.
I think it's spaceshipy enough.
Yeah. There's a couple pics that are probably up right now as you're saying that, but I mean, when you look at that interior, it looks pretty futuristic to me because of that minimalistic environment.
Exactly.
You don't need gauges and dials and all these fancy things all over the place because too much information is overwhelming. And I find some of the cars today that have 2, 3, 4 screens in different places, it's information overload. It can be distracting. And I think the whole point was, obviously they'll have self-driving capabilities in this car at different levels, but is for us not to be distracted. So keep it simple so that we can focus on the driving experience.
Yeah, I think we've been accustomed over the last, several decades to equate luxury with more toys and bells and whistles. And that's fine. I mean, it's just something we're used to. And Tesla's just taking a different approach to what they feel is a more modern and clean approach. We'll see. Doesn't bother me. I think it looks cool.
It's cool. So yeah, that we all like the interior. We're giving it a thumbs up, and it, as you said, from what you could see, it looks sharp.
What Tesla showed last year at the reveal event in terms of the interior is exactly what is going into production. The only difference is finishes.
And maybe the steering wheel had
the steering wheel we've already seen. It's a Model S steering wheel with the same 2 scroll wheels minus the buttons. That's what's going to happen. So the steering wheel spaceship thing is not happening. It's the overall interior approach is more of an open air feeling to the car. But if you're thinking that they're holding something under their sleeve and stuff, I'm here to disappoint you. That's not what's happening.
Now, Teslanomics. Now, you met that gentleman. He was down there. Is that correct?
Hi, Ben. How you doing?
Exactly.
So we Ben had organized the whole thing with a bunch of some of us folks who do videos on YouTube for the Friday night after our reveal, or our VIP event. So we all headed downtown San Francisco after the VIP event and our little dinner or luncheon with friends von Holtzhausen. And we all got together for dinner, and I got to hang out with some of the folks. So the Kim and her husband from Like Tesla channel, and Ben Solins from Teslanomics, and they had Zach and Jesse from Now You Know, and James Cook, who came in from England, who does a really nice Tesla daily vlog.
Ryan.
And yes, Ryan McCaffrey came out from the Ride the Lightning podcast. And we all had a nice dinner, and then we sequestered ourselves into a boardroom and just talked Tesla the whole night. So you may see some of those clips online coming out in the next few days or weeks. It was a lot of fun, and we hope to do it again if we ever get a chance to get together again. We just had a real blast. It was a lot of fun.
And hopefully we'll be able to do that if we both make it out to the to the production reveal. We'll see. But Ben has put out some information regarding his price predictions and some of the options, so you can definitely check that out. As I said, I think in one of my, he has a final calculation that he thinks the average selling price will be around 50,000. I guess that's a U.S. number, not a Canadian or rest of world number, based on common options and extrapolating percentages of the current pricing from the Model S options into what that could be from a Model 3.
Which I believe are on the high side. So just try and keep.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think it's a little high.
If you budget for those numbers, then you'll be in a good position should they be cheaper. But they're certainly not going to be any higher, that's for sure.
And if you want to continue to follow the sightings, there's a Google Photos page which I go to multiple times a day. You can just search for that and just check it out. There's constantly photos and videos being uploaded to this central site that has the latest.
I'll put a link to it in the show description.
Absolutely.
You can watch it because it's really long URL.
Some of your shots are in there from behind the fence and that kind of videos and that kind of stuff. So it's great just to continue to watch. Now that the flurry, which we knew around this time, there'd be a whole whack of stuff out there. So it's great to see. Well, last show we talked a little bit about some analysts being negative on Tesla, but there was a quick report that came out from Evercore ISI analyst, and they're now convinced, just now, that the Model 3 rollout will be pulled off without a hitch. They think it's going to go very well because the vehicle development is nearly complete. It's on plan to start production in July based on everything that we've heard. And Tesla expects again to those numbers they've quoted to reach 5,000 vehicles per week at some point this year. It's not right away, but by the end of the calendar year, and then 10,000 at some point in 2018. So again, so it's good to see some of those analysts starting to change their tune and say, hey, Tesla's doing a good job. And it's showing in their stock price, which has gone kind of crazy.
Well, there's some other stuff going on there for sure, but I think general confidence in the market now is starting to finally increase as far as this program's concerned. So
that's right. Some other Tesla updates that have occurred. Elon did a tweet about Canadian supercharging, so that's the first time I've seen him tweet about that. But there was a question about bringing supercharging to Swift Current, Alberta, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or Saskatchewan.
Well, there's a huge gap.
I'm going to get email on this.
Yeah,
now.
Well, what he said, what he tweeted out was that they are going to fill in the gaps on the Trans-Canada now,
which is what we need.
Yeah, we have a really long highway that stretches from coast to coast, and we have some pretty large gaps, in the Midwest and of course on the East Coast. So hopefully, they'll be able, they said by the end of this year, they hope to close those gaps, which is really good. In a lot of ways, if you want to go across right now, you have to dip into the U.S. So.
And even that's a stretch. There's some points where the range is going to be very stretched to even make it if you wanted to go across. But yeah, I mean, certainly Tesla's, as we've talked about many times, are investing deeply in the supercharging environment to double and grow those numbers. They've acquired permits for over 40 more stations. I think this is just in the U.S. alone in the last couple of months. In April, they're focusing on the U.S. and Canada construction because that's where the Model 3 obviously is going to start coming first, specifically in the U.S. for this calendar year. And of course, in some areas, they're not just adding stations, but they're also increasing stalls in existing stations. The average station has about 6 stalls, and they're upping them to 8 to 12, and in some places even 20. So, when they're in this high traffic areas, there's one they talked about even 50 to 100 stalls. So that's huge.
Also, for those of you in the GTA area or the Greater Toronto area, that looks like they're adding 8 or 9 in the core alone. So that will help a lot of you in the that live in condos and who are apartment dwellers to get a good charge on this. There's a few more in Southern Ontario that are being peppered about. So they're definitely got some good expansion plans for this. So it's looking good.
On that note, on the condo apartment charging, there was some talk from the shareholders meeting that Elon did. He talked a little bit about that because I believe there was a question. And he's just basically saying that there are more chargers being installed in urban areas, in denser urban areas. There are programs through the municipalities, through the states, through the provinces, and so forth, that I believe they're working with them on. He didn't really clarify that. But that you'll be able to, that are better than your home chargers, but not as powerful as a supercharger. So kind of in between. And I think Tesla wants to help promote and work on those. So I'm not sure if he's talking about destination chargers, but definitely that in those areas where you live in a condo, an apartment, and don't have built-in charging availability, you'll be able to go very close to where you live and get that done.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. So
changing their tune a little bit.
That was interesting. So we talked about more stores, service centers, the Rangers, of course, expanding all those to meet Model 3 delivery and support demands as we move forward. He talked about Autopilot, that new all cars made since October 2016 have hardware 2.0 in them now, which, as you know, has more cameras and the radar and everything. They're upgrading the software, and I believe there's something coming out within the next week. It's going to be quite an enhancement for that. He still mentioned that they want to showcase a fully autonomous drive from LA to New York City by the end of this year.
That's still on tap for late this year, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, for that. There was a question about battery upgrade. So if you had an older Model S and you wanted to upgrade the battery at some point, that he says, yeah, that'll be available. Hasn't really, none of them have really reached end of function life yet. It's too soon, but that if that happens, they will offer that in the future. The Model Y, we can talk quickly about the Model Y. He confirmed that they're actually designing a brand new platform, so it's not going to be based on the S or 3 platform or X platform, that it's going to be brand new, built in a new way to even lower CapEx further. He was really big on lowering the capital expenditures that they have to do to produce these cars, to build them. And he's talking about dropping a factor of 2. What does that mean then?
Well, Tesla's
Pretty big statement. So.
Well, yeah, I think what's happening here with the Model Y, and one thing that came out of the shareholders thing, or it was in a tweet, I can't remember, but Elon was saying that doing the Model X on the Model S platform, they felt was a mistake. They feel that going forward, that their cars should be individualized in order to help, with production costs and design and so on and so forth. So it's interesting he's talking a lot more about the Model Y. Now keep in mind, Model Y is still not on track for another 2 years before we even
2019
see the car.
deliveries
Yeah,
earliest.
exactly. They did tweet, or no, they did put out a picture, a teaser image of the Model Y, and reminds me a lot of a Model X. When the Model X was teased as well, it reminds me a lot of that. Again, I think it's going to be a simpler car. It's not going to have Falcon wing doors and stuff because it's just kind of too expensive. So we'll have to see. But again, we don't want to talk about it too much because it's another 2 years away. But I think they're flexing their manufacturing and their design muscles now. They finally seem to have a handle on things a little better now. Again, they have more resources than they ever did in the past. So, I mean, the next point here is talk about the semi-truck.
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Elon did say in the shareholders meeting, he says, I think you're going to want to be around for the semi-truck unveiling
In September.
Yeah, still confirmed for September, and they seem to have something interesting up their sleeve. So it'll be very interesting to see what that's like. I mean, it's not up my thing. I don't think I'm going to attend it, but it'll be interesting to see what they actually pull out of the rabbit's hat this time. So,
well, they're pushing for it. There was a question about. It sounds like they have actually a lot of companies, fleets that are interested in purchasing.
Huge interest.
So they've got, and this should be a higher margin product for them. This isn't going to be a cheap product.
Yeah.
So that's great. Again, anything to add to their bottom line to keep them healthy and keep them going. And they're going to reach scale production on that in 18 months to 2 years, he said. So it'll be a while. But he also mentioned at the semi event that there might be something else. So
well, that's what he was hinting
That's what
at,
he was saying, hinting at. Yeah.
We'll see.
So we shall see what happens. And I think that's basically the main points that we got from the shareholders meeting. It's probably online. You can watch it. There were a few other things they talked about, but that seems to be it. They're doing very well. They are an electric car. They're a sustainable energy company. That's how Elon stated that what Tesla is all about. Vertically integrated. And they're about electric cars, electric energy storage, and energy production in the solar. So
it's not just about cars anymore.
It's not just about cars
and
anymore.
That's kind of reflected, I think, in some of the interest in the company and the share price. Obviously, it's been climbing. I think people are finally starting to come around. This is a little bigger than they imagined. So
that's right. Moving on to some other EV news. There was some reports about from our neck of the woods here in Canada, the Great White North. About EVs incentives increasing, and our federal government has come out with some statements saying that they want to do what they can to continue to grow electric vehicle sales in Canada, and they want to build a comprehensive plan to increase the number of zero-emission vehicles on Canadian roads to start increasing that by as early as next year, 2018. So they've basically have recognized that the transportation sector accounts for about 24% of Canada's emissions, or greenhouse gas emissions, mostly from cars and trucks. So anything they can do to help lower those numbers by EV adoption is a positive thing. So they want to work with stakeholders to develop a Canada-wide strategy to build on existing initiatives that they've already got, like the incentive programs and things like that we talked about, light-duty vehicle regulations, provincial programs, and Canadian innovation superclusters. I don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty cool. So they've basically built this advisory board to help dive into those areas to address the barriers for EV adoption, including supply, cost, and benefits of ownership, infrastructure readiness, public awareness, which is a huge thing. We just can't tell you how many people we walk into that have no idea how valid electric vehicles are even today without the Model 3 on the roads yet.
Yeah, no, that's still
and of course
concern,
things about clean growth and clean jobs, which is a big thing now. So so excellent that our Canadian government, they're throwing about $180 million on this over the next 2 years to help build this. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if that, I know there's been talk about potentially maybe no GST on an EV purchase. I don't know, but there could be some more incentives. So we'll wait and see what happens. We'll update you on that. But it's all good news that we're trying to do some good stuff here. Europe has now reached, as an article that came out, that they've reached 3,000 CCS combo DC fast chargers in Europe. That's quite a large number. They've grown that triple-digit growth over the last 3 years. And those are actual multi-standard chargers, they call it. So they have both CHAdeMO and or a 3-phase AC Type 2 along for the ride, which I guess is your CCS port. Is that correct?
Type 2 is the type of connector that is common to pretty much all of the... see, in North America, we use J1772 as the standard level 2, and in Europe, they use what's called Type 2.
Yep.
But when you get to when you get into DC fast charge, then you still have the CHAdeMO or the CCS connector standard, so it's different.
And these are 20 to 50 kilowatt power outputs, and they're about 90% complete. So, and or actually 90% are 724, so they're self-serve and off you go. So good for them, and they want to even grow that even more. And the top 5 countries. What do you think that the largest country for to have charging stations is in Europe specifically? What would you think that is?
It would have to be a smaller country, so I'll say Germany.
You're close. Germany's second. The UK is number one. Yeah,
really?
Just by about eight chargers. So you were pretty close.
Pretty close.
UK, Germany, Norway, France, and Sweden lead the pack there.
Excellent.
So great to see. So good job. And I know we get lots of emails from Europe. So and on that note, there was a nice article that came out about the argument against EV adoption. And we hear this once in a while. We hear, well, the power that you need to recharge an EV, is coming from all kinds of different sources, and it's actually worse for the environment than the EV is saving by not having emissions. There was a study done by the Union of Concerned Scientists, or UCS, and you can Google them and read all about this. They did a state-by-state study about looking at the clean energy, and that there was a huge jump. It only goes to 2014, but a huge jump for 2009 to 2014 on them calculating the MPG equivalent on a BEV car, battery electric car, and that the average now is 73 MPG if it were a gas-powered vehicle. So it's quite staggering when you read this stuff and you look at the states and the areas that are leading the charge there to look at clean energy, even though we're hearing a lot from the current administration about boosting coal and getting coal back on. But that does not seem to be happening.
I think it's important to remember that in the EV sector, that the energy generation on the clean side of things is increasing exponentially, but on the fossil fuel sides, they're not making any more refineries. They're not building coal power plants anymore, nuclear power plants. Like, there's not a lot of growth going on in power generation from the traditional means. But renewable energies like wind and solar and wave energy and stuff, that is on a huge amount of rise. So it's actually going to only get better as this goes on. So this, again, like you said, this argument about the EVs not being clean or this is fast becoming a myth.
So if you're talking to people, and again, we don't encourage you to go and look for arguments and try to convince people, because I think if somebody is not into the electric vehicle world and they're going to look at different things, then it's hard to really convince them. But
it's about perception and education.
Absolutely. Yeah, correct. And that's one of the things we do with this show, and some of the things that we do as public outreach that we're going to try to grow on is just to educate people on what's out there. Let's get quickly into some other manufacturers. We've just got a couple before we get the mailbag, but we went to an EV type conference about a couple of weeks ago here in Toronto, and we had just missed the unveiling of a company called Havlar, who came out with a really cool looking pickup truck called the Bison. And you read some stuff about that, right?
Yeah, we just discussed it at the Tesla meeting the other night, and it's it's a prototype vehicle. The interior, interestingly enough, looks a lot like a Model S because it has a center screen. It was quite interesting. It's a full electric. It's not a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid or anything like that. Full battery. I think the intended market for this, I think initially is going to be European. So we'll see how they go with this. They don't have any plans for factories or anything like that. So we'll play. I don't have a lot of information on it, but we'll have to keep a close eye on it. It's not a bad-looking truck. It's not a full-size pickup. It's a little bit smaller. Yeah. Not ugly by any stretch.
No. Kind of like a Honda-ish. I don't know.
Yeah, like a cross between a Honda and an F-150, which is, nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're saying they don't have any specs as far as battery size and things like that, but they do talk about dual motors, all-wheel drive, and having a reinforced carbon fiber with a reinforced steel space frame. Off-road capabilities allow for 54% hill starts and 21% hill climb at full load. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think getting electrified pickup trucks makes absolute sense. It's a huge market, and if somebody can crack it, there's huge potential for growth in there. That's for sure.
And on the other release that just came out in the last week, of course, we talked about Hyundai with the Ioniq Q. Ioniq? I always forget that one. That they're leading that charge, but also they're coming out with another model called the Kona, and it's really a smaller SUV again type vehicle. Will have a greater than 50 kilowatt hour battery pack, capable of about 217 miles of real range. Mm-hmm. About 39,000 USD as a base price, and should be out in the fall of next year. So again, we're seeing the industry looking at BEVs as a practical way of making money and growing their business, and they're all, with the exception of Mazda, I think, kind of going after it. They're the only holdouts, right?
Yeah. No, the tipping point has certainly been reached, at least on the manufacturing side of things. Manufacturers are definitely getting into it. However, the tipping point has not arrived in public perception, so we're still waiting for that to happen. But it's coming.
Let's get to mailbag.
Mailbag time. Love mailbag. What do we got, Ken?
All right, so first question here is we have from David. It doesn't say where he's from, David Belleville. I think he's from Ottawa, Ontario area. Thanks for the email. His question is, will the Model 3 require rust proofing because it's partly made with steel? And what do you
that's
want?
That's a good question. That's a really
especially
good question.
For us snow belt area.
Well, at this point, you have to remember, we still don't know the full makeup of the vehicle. Now, I have an understanding that the exterior of the car, from this everything you could touch as far as the skin is concerned, I believe will be aluminum. Take a Model S.
You couldn't do the magnet thing at the event. So.
The Model S, for example, there's a lot of noise being made that it's an all aluminum body. Now, it is mostly aluminum. There's still some interior structures for the A and B pillars along the roof line.
And that's crashworthiness, right?
And
Safety.
Inside the doors, that is definitely metal. And I saw a lot of those parts on the factory. You can definitely tell what's aluminum and what is steel. Again, with the Model 3, Tesla's been very coy about the mix of steel. Personally, I think it's going to follow much like what they did with the Model S, and it's still mostly aluminum, where steel where it counts. So if they decide to do anything differently, I'm sure they will tell us in due time. So if you believe in rust proofing or undercoatings and stuff, that's something you probably have to do. Now, the thing you have to remember, though, too, is that, remember, the Model S has an aluminum quarter-inch armor plating on the bottom of the battery pack. And because that constitutes most of the bottom of the vehicle, the open areas are covered by plastic. So yeah, there's always room for some other coatings and stuff where the areas that may be exposed.
Wheel wells and things like that.
Yeah, well, those have fabric and plastic inside of there too. I mean, you can always get moisture inside the areas you can't reach and stuff. But with aluminum, it corrodes. It doesn't rust, obviously, and it takes a long time to corrode. Where you get perforations and stuff. So right now we'll just have to see what happens. But it's an excellent question, and hopefully Tesla will be able to answer that question when the time comes. So
yeah, they'll be able to recommend whether they may even option that off as a dealer installed. They may recommend that.
It'll be a third
party. Yeah. Sure. Okay. But great question. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Another question regarding free supercharging. This is from Milan Shaw. It doesn't say where Milan's from, but thanks for the email. We appreciate it. For those people who purchased an S or an X between the 15th of January 2017 and May of this year, he's not sure the exact date, they get free supercharging, which is tied to themselves, not the car.
Correct.
Is his assumption. So does that mean that owners are the only people who can purchase a used Model S or X where the vehicle does not have free supercharging? Or will they still get free supercharging? Whereas those people who fall outside of those dates will not be able to
the whole thing is a little bit confusing,
and
it can be read as a variety of different ways. And I'm going to confess here that I haven't really looked into it very deeply. So there seems to be some confusion on a general scale here, that if you bought a car at a certain amount of time, then the supercharging stays with you. But if you didn't, you bought a car with free supercharging, then it stays with the vehicle. And of course, anybody who falls outside of that falls under the new, pay-per-use supercharging plan. All I can say at this point is that if you're looking at a Model S or Model X, and everybody's going to be buying them with referral codes now, because part of the thing about using a referral code as a new buyer is that you get free supercharging included with that. So Tesla's kind of brought back free supercharging back into the Model S and Model X through a slightly different means, in a way of reinforcing the referral code. So again, I think it really falls under, it only really affects us people that are waiting for the Model 3. So anybody's looking for an S or an X, you basically got free supercharging, whichever way you look at it. So if you're interested and free supercharging is important to you, well, guess what? You got to buy a Model S or Model X. It's the only way around it.
And on the pre-owned / it's not pre-owned anymore, it's used inventory.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
You'll just have to ask Tesla what the policy is. Most of them I'm seeing are free supercharging anyway in that marketplace. So anyway, thanks, Milan, for the email. We appreciate that. We got an email from Rick. It doesn't say where he's from. Rick, thank you for that. A couple questions. First of all, he's wondering if the referral program will carry over to the Model 3. So has there been any discussion about that?
No, at this point, no. Remember, the referral program that Tesla has put into place is to generate demand, and something that Model 3 does not suffer from. So why would you give something for or build something up when you don't have a problem with demand? Matter of fact, they haven't even started producing the car yet. So for now, it could change in the future once demand softens or the backlog is figured out. But at this point, forget about it. You can't use a referral code in any shape, way, or form to get a discount on a Model 3.
And also, Rick asks a follow-up question about, again, the rear-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive. Does the added weight of the battery pack help with traction on rear-wheel only? And do those people in warmer climates really should they be concerned about rear-wheeled versus all-wheeled? And there's been talk about if you're on the freeway, highway driving, it's a little better on AWD, but...
Well, this is an argument. Well, not an argument, but it's an ongoing discussion.
A lot of
discussions. It's going on and on and on. The way I look at it is very simple. If you care about traction in inclement weather, all-wheel drive is your answer. If you care about launches from a dead stop and being able to get very fast acceleration, all-wheel drive is your answer. If you care about range and eking out another 5%, all-wheel drive is your answer.
That's all it is, 5%?
Yeah, it's only about 5% on a Model S. Again, we don't have all the numbers on Model 3 yet, so we don't know how much of a thing it's going to matter. So really, those factors are the things you have to come in and put into play if you really value all-wheel drive. Otherwise, you don't need it. There's thousands of people around the world who have rear-wheel drive Model S's, and they're perfectly happy.
Even in snowy climates or inclement weather climates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget the largest installed base of Model S's in the world is in Norway. I mean, that's where they filmed Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
it's cold and it's pretty snowy in the winter months. So again, my personal opinion about all-wheel drive, I would like to have it provided it's not too expensive. Otherwise, I've driven a Model S with rear-wheel drive, plenty of performance, gets you out of trouble or into trouble, whichever way you want to look at it. It's plenty fine. So again, that's a personal choice, but those are the three main things that you got to consider. Is range, performance, and traction.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that up. And our last email question is from Francois Langlois. Sorry.
Langlois.
Yeah. I'm butchering your name.
Sorry about that.
From Montreal, Quebec. Thank you for that answer, for the email. He's asking about Tesla's other products in the solar roofs and power walls. They just started taking reservations, and I think we can start reserving those in Canada, if I'm not mistaken. He was considering putting a deposit down on a power wall as a backup to his home in case of a power failure, and that's one of the things that they're designed for. But he's wondering if you have a Model 3, can that really be a huge 60 kilowatt or higher power wall in your garage? Can you, if you have a Tesla charger, is there some method of tapping into the battery to reversing it back into the house in case of a power failure?
That's a really good question. And from what I've been able to look at this, comments from JB Straubel, who's in charge of all the battery stuff going on at Tesla, is they don't have any kind of facility to be able to charge the car directly from the battery. The battery is designed for power shaving and energy storage from partly from the grid, but also from the solar. But it's really designed to integrate directly with the grid. So unless they change right now, the answer is still no. You cannot charge a car directly from a power wall. So,
and you can't take power from the car to run things in your house.
Correct.
The reverse of that.
Yeah.
There you go. Not today, but maybe in the future. We'll have to see. And last thing we wanted to bring up is we got an email from Kimberly Knudsen. Thank you for that email. She's just giving us a correction because we got a few comments regarding the Bose suspension from the last show that we talked about. There was a question about that, and you said, I don't believe Bose makes a suspension. They make audio equipment. But actually they do. They do make suspension technology. They use it in the F1. So she made a point about that, and we've got a couple other emails. So thank you for the correction. We're always like to make sure that we're well informed and that we provide accurate information.
that.
And there were actually some pictures I think that were sent to the forum, right, about that. So we appreciate that. But she did ask a question as well during your VIP visit, Trev. Did you see any Model 3s with opening sunroofs? So were they just all glass roofs, or do you see anything else?
No.
So they were all glass roofs. So there you go. Yeah, I think we would see some.
Get close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 3 feet away from the Alpha, but it doesn't really count because it's not a final production car. Right. But we saw a fair number of production candidates running around, but you can't get within 3 feet of the cars. I mean, they shoo you away. So.
Exactly. And I think everything, if you go to that Google photo site or just, look at the internet for all the pictures, everything's been glass roofs. I haven't seen anything different than that.
If I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I would still say the Model 3 will have a standard glass roof and the sunroof will be optional, despite what that cheat sheet says. Because remember, the cheat sheet is for selling the Model S, not the Model 3. So even if they're fudging the numbers a little bit, who knows? But I could be wrong. Maybe the metal roof might actually make it to production. But I haven't seen any evidence of it yet. So
we will know shortly. Well, and that's it, folks. That's what we have for the show. We tried to speed it up a little bit. I think we've still passed the half-hour point, but we're getting there. Trevor and I in our schedule over the next few months are going to try to do these a little bit more frequent so that we can shorten the shows a little bit. But there's just so much information still coming out, and we're so passionate about this that we just really want to have these chats with you. So please be patient, and we hope you continue to watch and enjoy the show. And on that note, there's many ways that you can contact us for feedback. We always enjoy the mailbag, so send us your email to m3ocshow@gmail.com. And what about Twitter and the other stuff, Trev?
Sure. My Twitter handle, if you want to follow me, is @Model3Owners, and Ken's is @KennethBakor.
Yep.
That's 2 N's.
Yeah, he's really the Twitter guy. I do a few things here and there, but he's more active than I am.
Make sure you check out our forum and our website. It's at model3ownersclub.com. We also have a Facebook page, and you'll just have to search for that. Just type in Model 3 Owners Club on Facebook. You'll find it. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. That way you get instant notifications. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And don't forget, we also have a Patreon campaign going on. So anybody who would like to keep this channel going, we invite you to take a look at the page. If it interests you, any little bit helps to keep the channel going. And lastly, don't forget, we have some really cool, t-shirts for sale, and show off your Model 3 cred.
New stuff coming down the pipe? You're working on stuff, right?
Yeah, I just put out some new ones, so
Good.
check it out. If you haven't seen some of the latest designs, I invite you to go and take a look at the website. And just click on shop at the top, and you'll be able to see some of the new designs. I got a lot of my stuff up in my head, too, for when the car finally comes out. So.
But anyway, thanks again for tuning into this episode of the Model 3 Owners Club show, and we hope to see you soon.
All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye-bye.